Soon. There it goes. Hello, Valley High School. This is the Business Industrial Academy orientation for 2020-21 school year. I'd like to start off by saying welcome. I'm happy for the school year to get started, and I cannot wait for us to get back in the building so we can see everybody face to face. So let's get started. Let's start off by talking about our mission and vision. Our mission is we are a supportive and diverse community dedicated to meeting the needs of all students through the pathways that develop skills to be successful in post-secondary endeavors. Our vision, all students graduate prepared to be compassionate and productive citizens. So my name is Mr. Towns. I am the assistant principal for the BIA Academy, which stands for Business and Industry. As you see on my side, I got industrial, which that was the formal name, but now it changed to industry. So just the heads up on that part. From office hours, can you get a hold of me? It's from 11 to 11:30 and 1:30 to 2 p.m. So do know I am flexible outside of those hours. Where if you email me and say, "Hey, Towns, I need to meet with you at 12 o'clock," I will, and then if I'm available, that will be fine. And if you want to reach me on my phone, just email me requesting a time, and we will negotiate and figure things out from there.
Hey everyone, this is Miss Elbe. So I'm the counselor for the Business and Industry Academy. Miss Luckett and myself are going to have the same office hours during NTI 2.0. Those office hours are going to be Tuesday and Thursday from 1 to 2. Just like Mr. Towns was saying though, you can reach me at any point. We can set up other times to talk. Those hours have just been kind of set aside so that way we don't plan any other meetings during that time. Nothing else gets our attention. Those are just going to be strictly like office hours. If you need to get a hold of me, you can email me at thejessica.lb@jefferson. If you call the 502-430-2022, that will come directly to my cell phone. So if you call school and you ask to speak to me, there's going to be a bit of a delay there in relaying the message. But you can call or text that number during school hours, and that will come directly to me. Whether I'm working at school or if I'm working from home during NTI, that'll come directly to me. So you can call or text that number. You can also make an appointment. So if you want to set aside some time where we can talk about, what your plan is going forward. Maybe you're a junior and you want to take the ACT. You want to go ahead and start looking at some colleges. You want to talk about that, and then we can set aside some time to talk about that using that counseling support request form. If you want to talk about things that have happened in your life during NTI and during the time that we haven't seen each other, you can use that form as well. So if we click on that form, what you're going to see is this. So it's the NTI counseling support request. You can fill it out for yourself. Your parent could fill it out if they think like you need to talk to somebody. One of your teachers, if you're like, hey, he's struggling in my class, I think you should talk to him, then they can fill that out on your behalf. So if you see the form with the colored pencils at the top, that's the one that we're going to request some counseling support. Now, those appointments are going to be made one-on-one, so that way we can keep confidentiality and not have, anybody else end up in like a Google Meet we're at, and it'll just be like you and I, in order just to maintain that confidentiality. If you're having a question about your schedule and you're like, I don't really want PE, this is not the form you use. Okay, so if you see the colored pencils, don't use that one to submit a schedule change request. Okay?
So, meeting your teachers for the BIA Academy. I'm gonna start with the English teachers. We have Mr. Bishop, Ms. Stepp, Ms. Buchanan, Ms. Dennis, Ms. Schultz, Mr. Beams, Social Studies, Ms. Forrest, Mr. Roberts, Ms. Gray, Mr. Gray, Mr. Johnson, Mr. McCauley. For CTE, we have Ms. Cotton, Ms. White, Ms. Comstock, Mr. Bingham, Mr. Spava, Mr. Essler. For electives, we have Mr. Ghost, Ms. Thorne, Mr. Nelson, Ms. Herning, Ms. Mortenberg, Mr. Morris. For science teachers, we have Mr. Stevens, Ms. Venegas, Mr. Wise, Ms. Smith. Math teachers, Mr. Spanier, Ms. Johnson, Mr. Cecil, Ms. Kissel, Ms. Brooks, Mr. Hennick, Mr. Barlow. In our parental contact team, we have Ms. Lund, Ms. Robards, Mr. Ron Smith. And do know that with the parental contact team, they could call you time to time, check in on you, make sure that we are meeting your needs.
I do want to point out that you will notice that there are a lot more teachers on here that were previously. So some of you are going to have teachers that like last year were considered HSA teachers, the Health Science Academy. So this year we're kind of, everybody could be going to anybody. So it's not like there's specific teachers that are only teaching English for the BIA students or only teaching English for the HSA students. So if you see you have Miss Dennis, who last year was HSA, don't think that there's a problem with your schedule or it's wrong. It's kind of like across teachers. So you're going to be having class with kids that are in the HSA Academy and the BIA Academy. So that's why we have a few more teachers on here because they might show up on your schedule.
So what should students expect during this time? Students during NTI 2.0 will engage in rigorous learning experience, both synchronous and asynchronous learning sessions. Teachers will utilize Google Classroom as their platform to provide instruction, feedback, assessments, and direct face-to-face support to support student learning. Students are expected to attend their alternating block schedules on synchronous days to receive live instruction from teachers. It is vital that they all show regular attendance to these sessions, even though they are being recorded for student review at a later time. Teachers are recording lessons to allow students the ability to rewind to a particular concept or content. These recordings are of teachers, not students. So we know that we are living in, strange times with the pandemic, and do know that we understand the challenges along with knowing that for whatever reason, if you have missed a session, it is recorded, you can rewind, or simply if you don't understand something, you still go back to the recordings and rewind it and get your lesson again. So moving on to the next slide. What is student participation during NTI 2.0? Student participation is a must to receive credit for being in attendance. Teachers will monitor both their synchronous and asynchronous learning times for all students. Students will be receiving feedback and grades on assignments they complete. Teachers are teaching to mastery level for essential content standards. Teachers will be monitoring all students for their level of participation and learning within the Google Classrooms. Students not attending and or needing extra support will be contacted by the teacher. The Values Parental Contact Team has been established to support our academy throughout NTI 2.0 by assisting teachers and making student and parental contacts in regards to both attendance and learning. And Ms. Elbe is going to tell you the difference between the NTI 2.0 versus NTI 1.0 last spring.
Okay, so at NTI 1.0, we were really just concerned with making sure that we were getting information out there to you and that we were working with you if you needed paper packets or you needed a Chromebook or you needed other things. And we were mostly concerned that people were just kind of like checking in with their teachers. They were getting something and kind of your participation was what you were more working towards, that you were just participating in NTI 1.0. NTI 2.0 is a little bit different. Now we've got this a little more figured out. We know what we're doing. It's more structured. And the focus is not going to be just that you're here and that you're, showing up, but that you're actually completing your assignments. You're showing that you understand what the standards are, that you're participating in class, you're getting your assignments done. So just want to make sure that, you are aware that as a student, we're not just checking to make sure that, you're checking and being like, hey, I'm here, but that you're getting your work done, you're being a part of those lessons, and that you're learning, because that's what we want to, that's the most important thing here, is to make sure, that you're learning and you're growing. And so we're supporting that. So during NTI 2.0, we just want to make sure that we're keeping up with our tasks and our assignments, communicating with teachers, if you have any questions, and just being involved in those classes. So that flows into what you're expected to do. So first and foremost, you need to make sure that you know the login to your student email in Google Classroom. If you don't know that, then you're not going to be able to access your classes. So we want to make sure that you know your login to your student email, your Google Classroom. Those are how you're going to get your classwork. It's how you're going to get announcements from school and your teachers. So that is key. You'll also need to check in with your advisory teacher every day using their Google form. Now, your advisory teacher is just going to be your second period teacher. So if you have Mr. Balden for second period, then Mr. Balden is your advisory teacher. Advisory isn't like a class that you're going to be getting, assignments from and getting projects and things like that. It's more like a homeroom type check-in atmosphere. So we will see on the next slide when we discuss what your schedule is going to look like that there is time built in for advisory. During that time, there might be some guidance lessons that we have to talk about that they're going to deliver to you. We might be going through like some expectations for NTI 2.0, getting information to you. They might be checking in with you to see if there's anything you need, if you have any questions, how it's going so far. So that is kind of going to be like your homeroom type teacher, that point of contact that if you more so like if you have questions or attendance purposes or checking in with them. Okay. Now, during NTI 2.0, there are two different types of learning that you're going to hear about. So we're going to have synchronous learning and asynchronous learning. Synchronous learning is going to be the learning that's happening where you're meeting with your teacher, your classmates are there at the exact same time, and you're learning all together. Kind of like if you were going to first period in school, like at Valley, and you're actually physically going to class and you're going to be there with all your classmates. That's our synchronous learning. Now, we want you to be participating in synchronous learning as much as you possibly can. If, let's say, you're unable to make it one time, those sessions are going to be recorded. So you need to make sure that you're accessing those recordings for any session that you might not be able to participate in. Make sure you're accessing Google Classroom so you know like what assignments that you're being given. You know where to go for your synchronous learning. And any other virtual platforms that your teachers are using for you to complete assignments, that you're regularly checking those. Communicate with your teachers. They're here to help you. NTI is still relatively like a new type of learning for all of us, and it's new for them too. So teachers are adapting to teaching virtually, and you're adapting to being a virtual student. So just make sure if you ever have any questions or you don't understand what they're talking about or what's going on or what the expectations are, that you're just communicating with them. Emailing regularly, calling them if they provide some way to do that. So just make sure you're communicating with them. Again, check your JCPS email daily. School will send out things through there. Notifications might come through there, so make sure you're checking that. And then when you're on a Google Meet, just make sure that you're being respectful of your peers and your teacher, and that you're using proper etiquette there. Watch what the types of things you're saying, be a good participant. Don't, talk about random other stuff, but be focused on what the lesson is for that day. I know it's easy to get distracted, especially when you're on, Google Meets and Zooms, and there's a ton of other things going on around you. So if it's loud and, behind you, I have kids and sometimes they're loud and crazy during these things. So I kind of like mute myself when I don't have to talk. So that kind of etiquette, just be mindful of your peers and your teacher and the time that they're putting into those synchronous lessons. During NTI 2.0, this is going to be the weekly student schedule. So this is kind of how your week is going to run. So let's kind of look at this and talk about what it means. You'll notice Monday and Wednesday both have that purple color. So Monday and Wednesday are kind of like a block day. Like they're the exact same schedule for both those days. Tuesday and Thursday are both green. Exact same schedule for Tuesday and Thursday. So let's look at Monday. So Monday through Thursday, you'll note that the starting time is 9 to 10. Okay, so we start at 9. So it's, a little different from traditional school where, you get to school, first period starts at 7:40. Well, here we're not starting till 9. Okay, so from 9 to 10 is going to be your synchronous instruction for first period. That means that whatever your teacher posts in Google Classroom, if it's a Google Meet, maybe you have to join the Google Meet at 9 and they deliver a virtual lesson. They go through like the content that they're teaching for the day. And then there's a question and answer session at the end, or maybe you work some practice problems together at the end. Maybe your teacher posts a video at 9 and you watch a 15-minute instructional video of them teaching you the concept. And then at 9:15, they have open question and answer time. You work on problems together, and then they give you an assignment at the end. But from that 9 to 10 block, that will be your synchronous instruction for first period. Synchronous, again, meaning you're going to be there, your teacher's going to be there, the other people in your class are going to be there. You're going to be learning together. Okay? From 10 to 10:30, we'll have a little bit of a break. You can work on any homework you have. If you need to email a teacher, your teachers will have office hours during that time, so you can shoot them an email, be like, hey, what was the page we're supposed to do again? Hey, I have a question about this. Can we set up a time to meet to talk about it? Okay. 10:30 to 11:30, you're going to have another synchronous learning session. So on Monday, that would be third period. Your third period teacher, you, your classmates from third period, all going to meet together and talk about the instruction for that class together. That'll be over at 11:30. Now from 11:30 to 12:30, you're going to have a lunch break, independent work break, just an hour to get stuff done. Then you're going to come back at 12:30 to 1:30, you'll have fifth period synchronously. So you, your fifth period teacher, your peers will come together, have your lesson for that hour, and then 1:30 to 2, we're going to have another break, 30 minutes, homework, office hours again. And then your last session of the day will be 2 to 3. On Mondays and Wednesdays, that'll be seventh period. So from 2 to 3, you, your seventh period teacher, your classmates together for that lesson. Now, note that we had talked about advisory, and I said it would show up on this schedule. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 3, there's going to be an hour built in for advisory time. Again, those could be for some guidance lessons. Those could be for different things we just have to get done from the school as a whole. So we're going to do that during that advisory time, that 2 to 3 block. Now you'll know that notice that Friday is a completely different color. So Friday's blue. So Friday's not like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Friday is our asynchronous learning day. That means we're not all in sync. We're not doing it at the same time. Okay, so everybody could be doing different things on this day. Your teachers are still working on this day. They're working all through the week. So on this day, maybe you set up to have a conference with one of your teachers and you're meeting with them at 10:30 for 10 minutes. Okay. Maybe your chemistry class gives you a group assignment and you and 3 other peers have to meet to get it done. So on Friday, you set up a time where you can either, FaceTime, Google Meet, but you can work together to get that done. Maybe you have to read a book for your English teacher and you need to write a book report on it. Friday's the day that you can get that done. Okay, so on Friday, our work time is going to be independent work, group work, classwork of any kind that you need to get done, your teacher's office hours, you can have conferences with people. So that's what our Friday is going to be used for. Kind of like that. It's kind of like a work day. Okay, so it's a day to get everything caught up, ready, turned in. That's going to be our Friday. Now, student schedules are available on Infinite Campus. A lot of people I know are noticing those, already figuring out, hey, I don't want art. Hey, I don't want PE. Hey, I don't want this. So if that's the case, or you're like, hey, I would really like to not be in the AP class, or I would like to be in the AP class. If you're noticing that you want some changes made to your schedule, I did say we're not going to use that counseling support request form. So the one we looked at with the colored pencils, we're not using that one. We're going to use this scheduling change request. Now, this form is strictly for requesting something other than what you have. Okay, so last name, first name, put your academy just so we know kind of which counselor it needs to go to adjust your schedule. The class you want to drop, so be specific. So I don't want to have Theater 1. The class you wish to add, Art 1. Okay, so be specific on there. You can select to get a copy of your responses just so you know you submitted them. But that's how you're going to request to get a schedule change. That will only be available for the first few days of school. So we usually accept those for the first 3 days of school. Then we have a little while to process those and get you your new schedules. Okay, so again, we won't be processing any more of those after the third day of school. Now, I just want to point out, and this is important, it says changes will be made based on course availability. some classes are already like full and I can't put anybody into that class that period of the day. So getting you into it is going to be not doable. Okay, so some are maxed out with number of students. Some just won't fit in certain schedules. So if you have to have certain classes and I can't fit it in because it's not offered that class period, I'm not going to be able to do it. I typically try my best to move things around to get you what you want, but sometimes it's just not possible. So just know that those schedule changes you request are going to be based on availability, that I can give it to you. And I will try my best.
So on here, you'll see the link to the Chromebook on Hotspot. If you're in need of one of these things, you go on JCPS website, and this link directs you straight to that link, and you click on the appropriate tab to request your Chromebook or Hotspot. And then on the last slide, we have a message from Mr. Ghost and Mr. Nelson. Mr. Ghost, our theater teacher, and Mr. Nelson, our music teacher. On these links, they provide rich information of the tradition of what they offer in the course and the history of success that they have had. So please be sure to check out those links. And if you are interested, please apply and join us one of those courses. And this concludes our orientation. Again, myself and Ms. Elbe, if you need us, do not hesitate to email us and reach out. And I hope you have a great day.
Bye, guys.